Welcome back to Zoom the TBT, presented by Charge and Hayner. We're doing our first bracketology of the season, and we're about to get into the region, starting with Columbus. So we're going to start off in Columbus. And again, obviously, you got to beat the champ, number one seed. You got Carmen's Crew coming in. Who's number two? Out of Dayton, the Red Scare. Charge, what makes them so dangerous?
No, this team here, I mean, they're just bringing so much energy, so much excitement to the TBT and their fan base. They're coming back with their core from last year. They're adding the youth. They got a couple of young guys off their Dayton team that has some unfinished business. Young kid from Louisville. And then obviously Deshaun Pierre was announced yesterday, who was just a beast in the TBT. And a couple of years ago, he ran with Broad Street Brawler. So, just a core, some youth. Bringing back a veteran or two possibly, and I know they're going to make some more announcements, but they're just a solid team overall, and it's definitely a team to watch for.
Well, plus they also might be playing for that bag up in Dayton. They get out of Columbus. They're playing at home for $2 million. Don't bet against them in that scenario. And by the way, they got a Louisville player, so I'm definitely not rooting for them because, I mean, they're great guys, but Louisville player's just going to screw me up. Okay, where did I go to grad school for my master's? I went to Illinois. So the House of Pain at the 3 seed. New team, a lot of strong players. Charge, what makes them so dangerous?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of these ones, almost similar to Dayton. I think some of these true alumni teams just come in a lot more cohesive, even though they don't have the experience. I know you ding the Volunteers a little bit for not having experience, but I think they do have that built-in advantage of, depending on how things shake out, they're going to be together before the TBT. They're going to probably be on campus so they can sneak into a gym and really put their team together. So this is one, not a whole lot of TBT experience with them or the players, but absolutely a team that is going to be cohesive and ready to run with anybody.
Charge, have you ever been to Champaign-Urbana?
I have not.
I went to grad school there, so got my master's, and I'll tell you, there's only two things to do there: drink beer and play basketball. Shout out to Murphy's Pub. Okay, staying in the Big Ten to get your 4 seed, the Menomaki Purdue. What do you think about this? Can they go ahead and get some games in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think their story is very similar to the Illinois alumni team, where they look to be a full alumni squad as well. None of this blended stuff, and very organized general manager that we're seeing out of the gate, and they've got John Octius, who's got a lot of TBT experience and really put up some nice numbers with armored athletes. So I think he's going to be looked upon as a leader and kind of guide him through the TBT process and what to expect from this young team. But I expect him to play really, really well.
They're going to be really dangerous. And speaking of dangerous and staying in the Big Ten, you got your Big X, a blended team of a lot of Big Ten type talent. What makes them somebody that can get out of Columbus?
Yeah, this one here, we'll talk about it at the end of the bracket when we dive in a little bit deeper. And I'm not saying this disrespectful because Andrew Dockich mentioned it on a podcast this week. This is the Ohio State JV team. So, and obviously in jest, obviously Carmen's
Say it with your chest.
So they've got all the veterans on there, and these are the young guys, and this is far from a JV team going on here. They've got some great players that played with them in the past with Woods and Jackson. They can put up some numbers, and then they're grabbing some of those guys from the cold-blooded team with Iverson and Vito Brown. And Vito Brown was probably one of the most improved players in the G League last year, just phenomenal player. And so they still got probably at least 3, maybe 4 more players to announce, and I think this team's going to surprise a lot of people and go a little deeper than they have in years past.
Fair enough. Now, here's a team that I don't really know that well, but they're near and dear to Charge's heart. The Mid-American Unity, who came off a big win last year. Charge, elaborate why they're such a great team.
Yeah, these guys here, they're all local up here in Northeast Ohio, so that's why I follow a lot of the teams in TBT. But at the end of the day, I'm always pulling for Mid-American Unity to win. Last year, they pulled in some different players with DJ Cooper. They got Romeo Travis, which I wasn't sure if he's playing, but I saw his verification video just tonight, so he'll be back. We'll see if Drew Joyce is involved this year. Jesse Harden, probably one of the better shooters in the TBT that nobody knows about, and they just play together. They play, with a chip on their shoulder. They're not your household names that you're going to hear from some of the other teams, but they've been around for a long time. This is one of these true reliable teams in the TBT, and they'll come back and they'll compete and compete with pride. So look for them to do big things again this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough against the House of Pain, though. Now, Charge, I can do the analysis here because I just hate these guys so much. The Bearcat Jam. I'm a Memphis fan. I'm never in my entire life rooting for a Cincy team, and their roster's still in flux. But I mean, the coach. I mean, Kenyon Martin's already been announced as the coach, so we don't know what the roster's gonna look like yet. But if they can get any of that late 2000, just absolute rough ball rebounding, very tough play. They might be underseeded at 7 if the roster comes together. Do you have any hope for that roster coming together, Charge?
Yeah, this is one you and I disagreed a little bit upon. I had him ranked a little bit lower. I've got him on the bubble. Melvin brings so much energy and excitement to the TBT community. When they came up,
Future guest on the show.
future guest next week, and
Yeah.
he brought a lot of excitement, brought a lot of kids, and love Melvin and what he's doing. Last year they struggled to put the team together, so Kenyon Martin as the coach is just a huge move from a kind of PR standpoint, and hopefully drawing some more talent. So until I see the talent on here, I've got him as a bubble team, and I really hope they get in because I think Melvin and his energy and excitement is good for the TBT.
Man, I love rooting against Cincy, so I want them in just so I can root against them. As a Memphis fan, I mean, all I'm gonna just keep mentioning, all that interview is gonna be charges me just talking about the fact we beat them twice in football this year. Okay, and then the bubble, last team in this region. This one gets dicey now. Team Detroit, and your team's out, or Team Tukey, the Banner Boys out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, the Midwest Showstoppers, and some team more. We had to discuss this. Why did Team Detroit get in, and what can other teams use to get back in?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Team Detroit, don't know a whole lot about them yet, but they do have a good kind of centerpiece, and Caitlin Lucas and the Michigan State guys. If they can pull some of them in, they're going to look really solid. But to be honest with you, if I knew what Team Moore had, the time we put this to release, I probably would have moved Team Moore up. That's the one we talked about earlier with
Jacob
Walter
Pullen,
Lemon,
yeah, I mean,
Lemon and Jacob Pullen. Those two guys can put a team on their shoulders and go. So, I think Detroit's going to end up being a good team, a solid team. I just think Team Moore is going to, stand out a little bit more once all the rosters shuffle out.
that's a good time to mention that these rosters are in flux. So we're taking a few educated guesses, obviously. So we're doing the best we can. But I mean, Team Detroit's got good. But yeah, Team Moore adding Poland's a huge thing. So they might actually flip those. Looking at this roster, like looking at this bracket, do you see a sleeper team in here?
It's Big X.
Big
So
X?
coming out of the 5 seed, this is the team I'd be worried about if I was Carmen's crew in Red Scare. I just think, once again, some of that youth I talked about, and we haven't even seen their full roster, but these guys are all putting up 16, 17 points a game in their TBT careers between Iverson, Brown, Woods, Jackson. They're going to be solid, especially if the back end of their roster that we haven't seen yet comes in. I'm watching out for Big X.
I think that's a great pick. I'm going to go ahead and just double down on that Bearcat thing, though. Like, as a guy who's just hated Cincy his whole life, but knows just how much talent, just how much of an ethos they have of playing rugged defense first ball. When you're in Elam Ending, even if they're down, they're going to cut every screen. They're going to bump every cutter. They're going to go ahead and get every rebound. They're going to be a complete nightmare if the roster gets together. So, like, as the roster stands now, there really isn't one. But if they get the roster I think they're going to get, they could be quite dangerous. Okay, let's go to the next region, man. So my home state of Tennessee, the Jackson, Tennessee area. And, of course, the Volunteers, the number 1 seed we've already discussed. And, God, I really hate doing this, but they're very talented. I mean, they're going to be really, really, really good, which we've kind of already gotten into. But the 2 seed could give them trouble. And this is where it gets interesting. Eberline Drive was probably one of our higher 2 seeds.
Yeah, Everline Drive, obviously a TBT original, so they got some clout. They've got the ability to pull in some great players, and so right now they've released very little, but what they have released has been really good. JP Takoto, JP McCura, and Kaiser Gates. So you got a little bit of a Xavier flavor there. JP McCure, one of those guys, set a charge record this year with 90 steals. He'll drop, threes on you all day long, but he's just one of those aggressive, tenacious guys that's going to be a force to be dealt with in TBT. So we won't see the rest of their roster for a while, but everything I'm hearing is going to be, if not as good as last year, even stronger. So solid number 2 seed there.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be really good. You could even flip them. This is one of the closer 1-2 rankings, one of the closer ones. Wichita also comes to mind, too. But these teams are both really, really solid. And I hope they use it for disrespect. I hope they remember this because the Jackson Underdogs won last year as an 8. They got out of Memphis as an 8. And you would think that would get them as a 1. But, I mean, we had to drop them to 3. And I really hope they use this as a fuel. Why are they so dangerous?
Yeah, this is one where, very top heavy. A lot of great teams at the top, but they're solid at a number 3 with Barford. Barford can absolutely go out there and beat a team by himself, and we pretty much saw that a lot last year. Even though they exited a little bit early in that round of 8, he was a member of the all-tournament team last year, and his supporting cast is not bad. I think Barford gets a lot of credit there, but hats off to him. He won't go play elsewhere. I mean, he probably been asked by 50, 60 TBT teams to go play for him, but he's committed to his local guys in Jackson. They're great support players. They can ball as well. And 3, even though they advanced last year to the 8, I just think the Volunteers need the line to be a little more consistent as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean they're still dangerous. So I mean I think they wouldn't have it another way. They wouldn't want to be a 1 or 2 seed. They'd want to be a lower seed just to keep having that fuel.
It's in the name. It's in the
name. In fact, 3 might be too high for them actually, just spiritually. Now looking at your 4 seed, we got a newcomer, the team of Super Crew, which has a really intriguing sort of roster coming together. They're really a newcomer with a lot to look forward to. I mean, they're so new. There's no logo up. Why are they somebody we're looking at as a dangerous team?
Yeah, this is one which we're going to have these guys on our Zoomcast
tomorrow.
next week.
No, Thursday.
Excellent. Yeah, so we've got them coming up this week. But this is one of these ones, depending on how this team shakes out, GM Derek Byers definitely has to get some looks for GM of the year if this ends up panning out for him. But they got Ike Diagu, who, I mean, the guy just scores with buckets. Obviously, he's a little bit older than some of the folks you see in TBT, but age is just a number with him. He's continuing to make things happen out there. He's got Jonathan Simmons, who NBA player, solid as it gets. Got some nice boosters, and Porzingis, showing up.
Kristaps.
It looks great. And then they teased today as well. Maybe they should just break it on Zoom, the TBT on Thursday night. But they're going to have another ex-NBA player currently playing in the Chinese Basketball Association. So you know this is going to be another bucket getter. Anyone playing in China, they're going to come here and put up numbers all day long.
Absolutely. Now, friend of the pod, we got a couple friends of the pod coming up. A very dangerous Louisiana United team. I mean, Tyron can score. What besides Tyron can I look forward to with this team?
Yeah, no, I think Tyron, obviously the centerpiece, and GM of Louisiana United, 2 great seasons where they went to the round of 16, disappointing loss overseas elite, which we covered that on our podcast. Jackson, Tennessee took them out last year.
Don't call that foul.
Exactly. Listen to the podcast and you'll
swallow your whistle.
But Tyron's just one of the best shooters in TBT over history, and but he's going to bring back his core from last year, so he just got a great core. And one of the guys I really like that he added is Sean Long. So he's just a dominating big man with some NBA experience, and he's just a load to deal with. So I think adding a little mix, getting a little bigger there, plus their core, solid team again. Don't see any reason why they can't make another run.
Now the bottom of this bracket gets a little interesting because this is one of the brackets where there starts to be a line after our next team. And we've had him on the pod before. He loves to talk a little bit of crap. That's one of the more entertaining interviews. Team Arkansas, which the roster's still a little bit of flux, but they always bring a strong roster. Why should people not count them out?
Yeah, I think we need to wait and see what their final roster comes out with. So far, we've seen not as some of the bigger names or as many of the well-known names from the past, like Dusty Hannas. But I think what you're going to see with them this year is a bunch of guys looking to play together. They still bring back Qualls, who is just a solid, exciting player. Bringing Ja'Cory Williams on board, which, I know him well from his time with the Charge, and he's just a beast. And so I think what we're going to see is maybe not as many big-name players that you're familiar with, but they got some youth coming off this last season. And these are going to be guys that I think are going to have a little more chemistry and looking to play together and make a nice run.
Okay, that's definitely true. And by the way, we didn't actually think about the underdogs and Barford being an Arkansas alum against Team Arkansas, but that works out rather nicely, doesn't it, from a fun standpoint?
I would definitely pay to see that one.
Well, we might get the chance. Okay, now this is interesting because there is a bit of a line after Arkansas, I think, because then you start to see some teams. I would cluster, and this is the weirdest region. There are like 22 applicants. So this region's deep, if not top heavy. It gets very strange here. So this is where we start kind of disagreeing. But we put them up next is the Panther family, the Georgia State alums. Now their roster is pretty incomplete, so we're putting a lot of faith in. Well, basically we're asking, is RJ Hunter going to play or not? Charge, why do we put them this high?
Yeah, it's really because they're an alumni team, and we're running. At least I'm running off the assumption RJ Hunter's going to play. That's kind of what I was hearing from the beginning when this team was first surfacing. If RJ doesn't play, I think this is one of these alumni teams that may find their way squeezed out, depending on how the other teams improve themselves and the counts and how many teams end up participating in TBT this year. But yeah, I think this is going to live or die by whether or not RJ Hunter plays.
Okay, so this is where it gets weird. So here's the last team in, and it's Team 901 with Team Grit and Grind, Atlanta Rising Grind, and Dream Big Sports right on the bubble. This is a very, very long list of 22 teams, and not just mentioning Team 901 played last year. They've got a pretty good roster, and they definitely have a chance of making it. But Charge, can you want to advocate for your bubble team? Because we both have different bubble teams. We both have a different team in, and 901 was a consensus of the two picks. Who was your pick to get in?
Yeah, I think hands down it's Dream Big Sports. This is one here that we disagreed on quite a bit. I have them seventh overall, and you had them 16th overall. And what really stands out with Dream Big Sports is Chris Wright, Devondrick Walker can just shoot the lights out. Craig Sword is just tenacious, and I think as we see their team, stack up against the others, especially in this Jackson one where it's just really deep. I think they're clear favorite to make this bracket if everything plays out
Well, see,
the way
my
it's
pick's a
currently set up.
little different. And so, by the way, but we say 16th. My eyes started closing after 12. So Dream Big's definitely a good squad. This was actually too many applicants. And unlike Florida, which had
Yeah, yeah,
9
this was
applicants,
tough.
this is the hardest one. Not because of just the quality teams, but 22 teams is an insane number of teams to pick from. I went Team Grit and Grind, and you can just go ahead and say I'm a homer because that's kind of
Number
looks
pick,
like it
yeah.
might shape up to be the Love City Blues. You've got Sean Taggart, who is a key player for those great Memphis teams under Calipari. You got Adonis Thomas, the leading scorer in a lot of those teams under Pastor. And you got Jeremy Hunt, one of the first guys to get back to the dance under Calipari. So you've got the makings of a good roster. I'm taking some faith they'll be able to get some other Memphis Tigers in there, which would probably, if they can make it a true Memphis alumni team in Jackson, they probably squeeze in, but they have to get a few more players. So I'm assuming Hunt can get his guys together, and that's why I picked them as the 8th seed. But it's fair to say if they don't, they won't make it. So they got to figure out how to get more of that Memphis State on there. But yeah, this is a crazy region. I mean, is there a sleeper you see here? Somebody that's really just dangerous as hell?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Super Crew. I think that 4-5 matchup, if it played out like that, Louisiana United is still just really, really good, and I don't think people appreciate how good they are. But the team that nobody knows about or no one's talking about is Super Crew because they are new to the TBT, and it's going to take some time to get their name out there. But I think once that roster is finalized, they're going to be talented enough to show up and take down some of the top seeds.
Yeah, I totally agree. So definitely a big region. Normally I'd go against you, but I have to pick the same sleeper. I think Super Crew's just a little loaded. I mean, they're a first-year team. I hate to bet on first-year teams, but looking at that roster, everything going on, like they're gonna be dangerous as all living hell. So that's a really interesting pick. I'm looking forward to talking to them. Okay, let's take one more region and maybe take a break, take a commercial. So let's go to beautiful Sin City, Las Vegas. Now, this was a region that we had a lot of fun picking because this is sort of like the alumni of TBT region. A lot of teams that have a history applied here. So it's light on actual alumni teams, and it's heavy on TBT history. And we actually pretty much agreed on most of this. Your overall number one here is obviously Team Washington, two loaded. They had Nate Robson, it'd be crazy. But then look at Team Challenge ALS, a former, Final Four team, a former great team. Like, what makes them so dangerous, Charge?
Yeah, I think Sean Marshall just year after year puts together a really good squad, and so they're bringing back a lot of the same guys. But I think what's going to make Challenge ALS really, really special this year is Branch. They grabbed him from D2. D2 made that nice run last year, and
Beat the guys out of Kentucky.
yeah, so I mean they just made an outstanding run. So for them to grab Branch off of that team is just a huge pickup. Both sides of the ball and very disruptive, and I think that's going to push them. Obviously, ALS past couple of years haven't gone as far as they want, but I think this is the year that they're putting it all together, and I expect them, to go very, very deep this year.
So I'm going to go ahead and say, too, we're going to definitely talk about each team, but like this is not the deepest region, but it may have been the flattest. I personally didn't see a whole lot of difference between 3 and 8. Like literally from 3 to 8, there's a lot of evenness, I think. So all these teams are definitely competitors and they're very good. So all these teams are basically OGs of the game too. They all have experience playing in the tournament. So let's start this bracket up with the number 3 seed, the Fort Wayne champs. Charles, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, no, this one here, it's all about the consistency and the steady approach. I think GM Garrett March is just very thoughtful when he puts his team together. He's looking for guys that are going to show up, guys that can play together. He's used a lot of his local connections in Indiana to fill the role. So you're going to have a good core of guys who were Fort Wayne Mad Ant players that we've seen, like Hicks, throughout the years. But just gets a really nice complement of local guys, role players to support that. And no reason to see them not have another good season.
Multiple wins. Like many teams in this regional, they've won in the tournament before in one game, so they're very dangerous. Okay, everybody smile. This is definitely the fan favorite, and we gave them a higher seed normal, and they have earned it with a lot of new pros and a new look. The Kimchi Express. Smile a little, Charge. Why do we love this team so much?
Yeah, no, you can't not love kimchi. I mean, going back from the early years when I first started watching TBT, they weren't pulling in the professional players yet. This was just a fun-loving group of guys having a good time out there. But after talking to Daniel, the GM, a couple weeks ago,
Hilarious guy.
just amazing, how committed he is to this team and the cause of bringing awareness to their cause, freedom in North Korea. But the thing that they're doing is they're really focused on bringing a good core of professionals that are, going to be local to them, that they're going to be able to get commitments from. Trey Davis is just killing it in the G League, put up 57 points.
That's a lot.
3 years back, he was the top scorer for Maine that year. He put up 43 this past year, and he's one of the names I really like that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. But they got a good group of professionals now, so this isn't the kimchi of old. You're going to get that same personality, that same energy, but with that professional flavor now.
The charm is the same, but the ball is better. Definitely a good team. Okay, so we're looking at a couple of teams that have won before. The Hoopville Warriors out of Illinois. Like, this is where it gets getting interesting. Like, they've won before. They're pretty dangerous. Charge, you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, no, exactly what you said. They're TBT experience. They've won games in the TBT. I think they got like 5 TBT wins under their belt, and I'm kind of excited to see Ronaldo Major play. The guy's like 88 years old, I think, and is going to outscore pretty much a good majority of the rosters on the TBT. All-time leader in G League points, and just does a lot of great things. And I can't wait to see him.
Not a walking bucket, a walker bucket.
Yeah. He'll still put up 30 with a walker. So I'm excited to see him in action this season. He's just got a lot of rich history. That's how I started following TBT is through the G League. And so I've got a certain soft spot for G League guys, and can't wait to see him out there playing again.
Well, it's always interesting because we come from different angles. We're both huge fans of the tournament, but because you're a G League guy, I'm a college guy. So this is definitely your region because this is like the OGs of the tournament, all the teams that have been here forever. Speaking of forever, the Peoria All-Stars long-term team, been very dangerous. Why should they be feared by the Fort Wayne champs?
Yeah, this one here, just with their experience, they're steady, reliable team, and they got the TBT wins under their belt as well. So I think they're just going to show up, be prepared to play, and look to make a little upset.
Yeah. I mean, the old Midwest game right there. It's always a fun matchup. I mean, so it's a little bit of a late ad. It's kind of usually an alumni team, but Team Utah, they usually get some guys from Utah. What do you think could happen here? They just a very late ad to the bracket.
Yeah, I like Utah a lot. Back in the early days of TBT, this was a team to be feared. I mean, this is a team that you did not want to go up against. They were getting 2-3 wins a year and really competitive team. Some of the same guys playing the past couple of years are back. Terrence Drisdom and Sean Green are looking to lead this Utah team back to their glory days. And this is one you cannot sleep on. They've got a rich history, and they can compete with the best of the best.
Okay, definitely. And I guess, we're going to need a break in a minute, take a commercial break, but I'm kind of hungry. Charge, are you hungry?
I am hungry.
What do you like for a snack? I like popcorn for a snack. Do you like popcorn for a snack?
Absolutely.
Showtime, baby. And this has been a very good bottom of the bracket. You still have City of Angels, the city team. You've got Utah Ballard, you got Adoba Sports. So this was really hard. How do we get Showtime over those three also really great squads at the bottom of the bracket?
Yeah, and to be honest, I hope with all my heart Showtime always is into TBT. This is a little bit of a reliability pick for me. They're TBT originals, and they don't always show up with the best roster. The one year that they did get to win, Posley was an amazing pickup. So I know they're actively looking to keep their same core of players, but kind of find those couple, 2, 3 guys that may be a step ahead and try to propel them. But yeah, they're just great for the TBT. Love what they're doing out there, the energy they bring, and yeah, I really hope they get in every year.
Yeah, and it's tough too because Showtime is great, but like you can see the depth of this bracket. You also see like I mean, City of Angels, Doba, and Utah are all absolutely credible teams. So like you really have 11 really credible teams in Vegas. This is a really tough region to pick. Okay, so hey, Charge, let's. I got an idea. So how you doing so far? I'll stop sharing the screen. What do you
Yeah,
think so
no,
far? We're having fun, right?
fantastic. I mean, it's digging in, just amazing, amazing amount of talent. Top to bottom. It's going to be an exciting year, and we still got half the
5
region
more
through.
regions. So hey, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come back and we're gonna hit West Virginia. You sound ready for that, Charge?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's pay off our sponsors. Charge and Hayner, Zoom to TBT, Bracketology, first draw 2020.